Today I'm going to show you 5 observations that all falsify the globe model and confirm the flat Earth. Globe defenders claim that coordinate systems prove the sphere and southern sun movement disproves flat Earth, that axial tilt explains observations, that Polaris behavior proves the spinning globe, and that long-distance visibility is explained by refraction. I'm going to show you that all 5 of these claims fail when tested against actual observations. By the end of the presentation, you'll see that the flat Earth model predicts all 5 observations correctly, while the globe model fails all 5 predictions. First, let's address the claim that coordinate systems prove Earth is a sphere. Globe defenders often challenge flat earthers, saying, "Create a flat Earth model using latitude and longitude coordinates to predict sun position. You can't because lat long only works on a sphere." This is false, and it reveals that they don't understand coordinate systems. The azimuthal equidistant projection, the flat Earth map, uses latitude and longitude. Latitude represents your distance from the North Pole, which is at the center. This is the radius, or r, in polar coordinates. Longitude represents your angle around the North Pole. This is theta, or the angle, in polar coordinates. So latitude and longitude on a flat Earth map is polar coordinates, just with different labels. Whether I say New York is at 40 degrees north, 74 degrees west, or I say New York is 5,550 kilometers from the North Pole and at 286 degrees angle, these describe the same position, just different labels for the same geometry. Coordinate systems are languages to describe positions. They don't prove geometry, they're just labels. You can describe the same building using Cartesian coordinates, x, y, z, or cylindrical coordinates, or spherical coordinates. The coordinate choice doesn't change the building's actual shape. So when they say, "Use lat long on the flat Earth," we say, we already do. It's called azimuthal equidistant, and it works perfectly for navigation, emergency services, and is literally the UN logo. Coordinate systems don't prove shape. They're just the language used to describe positions. Moving on. Second, let's address the southern sky and why flat earthers sometimes struggle with this. Many flat earthers try to explain the southern sun movement, where the sun rises moving left instead of right, as simply perspective from the opposite side of a plane. This doesn't work well and causes confusion. The actual explanation is that the southern sky is an electromagnetic mirror reflection of the northern sky. You're not seeing the same celestial objects from different viewing angle. You're seeing reflected and inverted images of those objects through what functions as a celestial mirror using moisture. This mirror line runs along the equatorial plane, creating 2 distinct sky regions. The northern hemisphere is the direct view of the celestial plane. The southern hemisphere, reflected inverted view through the electromagnetic mirror caused by moisture. That's why the sun movement is inverted in the south. Mirrors flip left and right. You see different constellations. Northern originals versus southern reflections. Polaris disappears going south. It becomes Polaris Australis. The critical point is that the mirror is constant. It doesn't tilt, change, or move with the seasons. It's a fixed electromagnetic property of the plane. This becomes important in the moment when we destroy the globe's axial tilt theory. Remember, constant mirror equals constant pattern. So let's talk about Jaren's Antarctica observation. Jaren went to Antarctica and came back claiming he'd disproven the flat Earth. His observation is that in the northern hemisphere, the sun rises moving right and sets moving right. But in the southern hemisphere, the sun rises moving left and sets moving left, that they're inverse to each other. He claims that this is impossible on the flat Earth because it's a circling sun above the plane. But first, as I just explained, this is not a paradox on flat Earth. The southern sky is an electromagnetic mirror reflection. Mirrors invert left and right. Problem solved. But here's what Jaren missed. And this is the devastating part. His observation actually destroys the globe model's axial tilt theory. Let me explain the globe's geometry. The globe model claims Earth is tilted 23.5 degrees on its axis and orbits the sun. This creates seasonal cycles where each hemisphere's orientation to the sun reverses throughout the year. In June, northern summer, northern hemisphere is tilted towards the sun. The southern hemisphere is tilted away from the sun. The north faces the sun more directly, the south faces it less directly. In December, during the southern summer, the southern hemisphere is tilted towards the sun. Northern hemisphere is tilted away from the sun. The orientation is completely flipped. This is a complete reversal. From facing towards the sun to facing away from the sun. That's opposite conditions. Now, the critical question is if the sun movement pattern, rising right versus rising left, is determined by your hemisphere's orientation to the sun, which is the globe's explanation since they deny the mirror, then reversing that orientation should reverse the pattern. Think about it. June, north faces towards the sun. Sun rises moving right. December, north faces away from the sun. Sun should rise moving left because the orientation reversed. That's what the globe model predicts. Opposite orientation should produce opposite patterns. But here's what Jaron documented. Northern hemisphere in June, sun rises right, sun sets right. Northern hemisphere in December, sun still rises right, still sets right. The pattern is identical in both June and December, despite the fact that the hemisphere's orientation to the sun is completely reversed. The same thing for the southern hemisphere. And anybody can see this and observe this for themselves. The pattern doesn't change when the orientation reverses. And here's another problem. At the equinoxes in March and September, the Earth's tilt is perpendicular to the sun. The sun is directly over the equator. This means zero tilt differential between hemispheres, or at least very little. If the 23.5 degree tilt is what creates the dramatic inversion pattern between the north and south, then at 0 degrees tilt, that inversion should disappear, or at minimum be significantly reduced. It's not. Full inversion persists even at the equinoxes when the tilt is supposedly neutralized. So let's summarize. Flat Earth explanation. Mirror is constant. Therefore, pattern is constant. Matches observation. Pattern is constant all year. You can observe this yourself. The globe explanation is tilt orientation varies throughout the year. Therefore, pattern should vary. Contradicts observation. Pattern is constant, not variable. Jaron went to Antarctica thinking he brought back proof against the flat Earth. Instead, he documented evidence that the sun's behavior shows a constant pattern that the globe's axial tilt theory cannot explain. The observation falsifies the tilt model. Now, let's add a fourth observation that independently confirms there's no axial tilt. Polaris, the North Star. At any given latitude, Polaris maintains a constant angle above the horizon throughout the entire year. If you're at 40 degrees north latitude, in January, Polaris is at 40 degrees above the horizon. In June, Polaris is at 40 degrees above the horizon. In December, Polaris is at 40 degrees above the horizon. No variation whatsoever. But according to the globe model, Earth's axis tilts 23.5 degrees, and that tilt orientation changes throughout the orbit. In June, the North Pole points toward the sun. Let's call that plus 23.5 degrees. In December, the North Pole points away from the sun. That's minus 23.5 degrees. That's a 47 degree total change in axis orientation. Now, Polaris is supposedly aligned with Earth's rotational axis. It's a fixed star in space relative to Earth. If the axis is pointing in different directions throughout the year, pointing towards the sun in June, pointing away from the sun in December, then the angle between the observer and Earth and Polaris must change. You can't have an axis pointing in different directions relative to a fixed point in space without that angle to that fixed point changing. That's basic geometry. The globe model predicts Polaris's angle should vary by up to 47 degrees throughout the year as the axis orientation changes. The observed variation, 0 degrees. Polaris maintains exactly the same angle all year long. This proves the axis orientation is not changing as the globe model claims. And notice, this is a completely independent observation from the sun movement pattern. We now have two different phenomena, sun movement and Polaris angle, both showing constancy where the globe predicts variation. The globe model is failing multiple independent prediction tests. Now, the Guinness Book of World Record for long distance photography, it contradicts the globe's curvature prediction. The photograph taken from Pic D Fenestralis showing the Alps mountain range at a distance of 443 kilometers. According to Earth curvature calculators, at 443 kilometers distance on a globe with 6,371 kilometer radius, taking into account the height of the observer, the mountains should be hidden by 5,124 meters. That's over 16,000 feet of curvature, or 5.1 kilometers of curvature. The mountain's only 3,820 meters high. it doesn't account. You're missing 1,200 meters, 1.2 kilometers of mountain to make it right at the horizon. Never mind the whole part that's above the horizon. The flat Earth prediction is no curve exists, so the mountains should be visible, limited only by atmospheric conditions and clarity. Reality is the mountains are clearly visible, sharp, undistorted, exactly as the flat Earth model predicts. Now, when I show this to globe defenders, they immediately invoke refraction. They claim atmospheric refraction bends light over the curve, making mountains visible. But let me explain why this is a rescue device, not a valid explanation. First, by invoking refraction, they're admitting the globe geometry alone doesn't predict the observation. They need to add an atmospheric rescue to make their prediction work. The geometry failed. They're patching it. Second, the direction is wrong. Normal atmospheric refraction bends light down toward the denser air near the surface. To see over a curve, you need refraction to bend light up, away from the surface. This requires a temperature inversion. Cold air below, warm air above. This is the opposite of what normal atmospheric conditions are. Was there a documented temperature inversion on the day this photo was taken? They never provide this data. They just claim refraction without any meteorological evidence. Third, the magnitude is absurd. Standard atmospheric refraction has a coefficient of about 0.13 to 0.17. To bend light over 5,000 meters, 5 kilometers of curve at 443 kilometers distance, you need a refraction coefficient greater than 1.0, approaching infinity. This is physically impossible in a normal atmosphere, and they said it was a clear day, perfect for this photo. Fourth, it's selectively invoked. They only invoke refraction when observations contradict the curve. When observations match the curve, they say, see, proves globe. When observations contradict the curve, they say, refraction, heads I win, tails you lose. The question is, why do you need to invoke unmeasured extreme atmospheric conditions to explain an observation that flat Earth predicts with zero additional assumptions? Occam's razor. The simplest explanation is usually correct. Flat Earth, mountains visible because no curve exists. Simple, direct, predictive. It's a clear day. Globe, mountains should be hidden by curve, but extreme refraction that we can't measure or document just happens to bend light and possibly upward in conditions we can't verify, perfectly making them visible. Complex, ad hoc rescue device. One model predicts the observation directly. One model requires magic atmospheric rescue when its prediction fails. The Alps photograph is direct observational evidence that contradicts the globe's model curvature prediction. Let me be very clear about why refraction excuse doesn't work. When globe defenders invoke refraction to explain away observations that contradict their model, they're revealing that their model failed to predict reality. Science works like this. You make a prediction based on your model. You test it against observation. If the prediction matches observation, the model is confirmed. If the prediction contradicts observation, the model is falsified. And I shouldn't say confirmed, I should say supported. But the globe model predicted Alps hidden by 5,124 meters at 443 kilometers. Reality, Alps clearly visible. The prediction failed. You don't get to then invoke unmeasured atmospheric conditions to rescue the failed prediction. That's not how science works. That's how pseudoscience works. If you want to claim refraction, then make them visible, fine, prove it. First, provide meteorological data from the observation day showing that there was a temperature inversion. Second, calculate the exact refraction coefficient required to bend light over 5,000 meters of curve to show that this coefficient existed in the atmosphere. Third, explain why this same refraction doesn't allow Mount Everest to see New York. Same principle. Fourth, explain why refraction only saves observations that contradict the curve, but never affects observations that confirm it. They can't provide this data because they're not actually measuring refraction. They're invoking it as a magic rescue to failed predictions. The Alps photograph doesn't require any refraction assumptions. Mountains visible because there's no curve on a clear day. Direct observation matches direct prediction. Their model needs rescue. Mine doesn't. Because this has been a long presentation, let's summarize what we've covered. 5 independent observations. First, coordinate systems. Globe defenders claim latitude, longitude only works on spheres. That's false. Azimuthal, equidistant, flat Earth map uses latitude, longitude as polar coordinates. Coordinate choice doesn't prove geometry. Second, the mirror sky. Southern sky is an electromagnetic mirror reflection of the northern sky. The mirror is constant, therefore sun movement patterns are constant. This explains the inversion Jaron observed. Third, Jaron's observation. The sun movement pattern is constant all year long, north and south. But Globe's axial tilt predicts it should be variable, changing as the tilt orientation reverses between June and December. The constant pattern contradicts variable tilt. The Globe model fails. Fourth, Polaris angle, constant all year long, no variation. Globe predicts 47 degrees of variation as axis orientation changes, zero variation observed. Globe model fails again. Fifth, Alps visibility, visible at 443 kilometers, world record. Globe predicts hidden by 5,124 meters, and the mountaintop is only 3,820 meters high. Direct photographic contradiction. Globe model fails a third time. Now let's compare models. Flat Earth model predicts constant sun movement pattern because mirror is constant. Confirmed. Predicts constant Polaris angle because no axial tilt exists. Confirmed. Predicts Alps visible because no curve exists. Confirmed. Uses latitude-longitude coordinates in azimuthal equidistant projection. Confirmed. Explains all observations without rescue assumptions. Confirmed. Success rate 5 out of 5, 100%. Now the Globe model predicts variable sun pattern due to changing tilt. Reality shows constant. Failed. Predicts variable Polaris angle due to changing axis orientation. Reality shows constant. Failed. Predicts Alps hidden by curvature. Reality shows visible. Failed. But refraction! Claims latitude-longitude only works on spheres. Works on flat AE map. Failed. Requires unmeasured refraction rescue when predictions fail. Ad hoc patching. Failed. Success rate 0 out of 5. 0%. 3 independent observations all falsify the Globe model. 3 independent observations all confirm the Flat Earth model. So here's my challenge to Globe defenders. Explain how variant axial tilt, where orientation reverses between June and December, produces a constant sun movement pattern that doesn't change all year. Explain how changing axis orientation through Earth's orbit produces a constant Polaris angle when your model predicts 47 degrees of variation. Explain how Alps are visible at 443 kilometers when your model predicts they should be hidden by over 5,000 meters of curvature minus the 3,820 kilometer height of the mountain. Explain why your refraction only works when observations contradict the curve, but never observations confirm it. And explain why 3 independent observations all fail your model's predictions. Use math, show your work, provide your data. If you can't answer for all 5, then your model has failed 5 independent prediction tests. In science, when observations contradict predictions, the model is wrong. That's the scientific method. How many failed predictions before you question the model? Stephen Hawking said, "The greatest enemy of knowledge is not ignorance, it is the illusion of knowledge." The Globe model claimed the sun movement pattern should vary with the seasons. It's constant. The Globe model claimed Polaris angle should vary throughout the year. It's constant. The Globe model claimed mountains at 443 kilometers should be hidden by curvature. They're visible. 3 failed predictions, 3 observations that directly contradict the model. The Flat Earth model predicted all 3 observations correctly, with no rescue assumptions, no magic refraction, no ad hoc patching. One model predicts reality, one model contradicts reality. When will you question the illusion? And I want to thank everybody for their time. If you made it this far, then that means you really care about information. I'm not here to spread anything besides truth. I'm going to speak facts only. Facts, and that's it. There's nothing else to discuss. If I saw evidence that Earth was a square, then Earth would be a square. I don't have any bias towards any shape of the Earth. I don't care what the shape of the Earth is. I only care that I know the truth about what the Earth is because I want to understand reality. I want to know what reality is. I want to know what it's all about. Okay? I was born into this world and I'm going to figure out what it is. And I'm not going to sit there and just believe things just because I'm told to believe them, because that's what the majority opinion is. Because the majority opinion doesn't shape my opinion. And what I've learned throughout my life of investigation and research is that the majority opinion is usually wrong. So, like, share, comment, subscribe. Let me know what your thoughts are. If you want to challenge anything, challenge it. I've been wrong before, and someone has challenged me, and I've clarified and I've corrected myself. I have no problem admitting if I'm wrong. That's how you learn. That's how you grow. That's how you develop in life. You know, the problem is when people want to be right more than they want the truth. That's a major problem in life and in reality. And when you figure something out and you try to share it with people and they want to be right so bad that they don't even care what the truth is, then you're just going to end up arguing with them because they don't care about the truth. You know, the best argument is when both people are right at the end of it. It's not about who wins. You win when you both win. Thank you.